Welcome into another edition of BKL Nightly. I'm Thad Brown with Caleb Carr and Rachel Liebert. A full house, as always, on a Thursday. Getting ready for Week 15. It's the Bills. It is the Patriots. A lot of stuff to get to today, but there is breaking news out of Orchard Park and breaking news that most Bills fans will not be excited to hear. So let's go right to the injury report to explain what happened today, the thing that has Bills fans a little bit nervous about this game now. Christian Benford, top of the list, with a toe injury today. He was reportedly seen afterward in a walking boot. He was on the field during the media portion of practice and looked normal then, so the injury clearly happened during practice today. We'll find out more from Sean McDermott tomorrow when we get the official update on player injuries going into the weekend. But guys, this is an easy one. What is the concern level, Caleb, if Christian Benford is not able to go this Sunday against the Patriots?
The concern level is through the roof, honestly, when it comes to the secondary. Benford has been really on the up these past few weeks, and he's become kind of, especially last week in the absence of Joey Bosa, he's become the star of the defense. And we saw, I think I mentioned last week in my concern up that the other two cornerbacks out there, Maxwell Harrison and Trey White, they haven't really done too much to really impress me and make me super confident in them. We'll talk a little bit about Diggs later, but I mean, this isn't an easy receiving group that they have to go up against. And if one of your star guys in the secondary is out, it could be extremely concerning.
It's also not a hard receiving group either. This is not T. Higgins and Jamar Chase from last week.
No.
Your point is still correct, Rachel. This is a bad thing for the Bills to find out
it's not
on
good.
a Thursday.
It's not good. I mean, like you said, Caleb, it feels like, to me at least, that Christian Benford has been like the entirety of the secondary the last 2 weeks. And for him to finally get things rolling, and we've been talking about it the last few weeks, of finally feels like he's had this breakthrough. And now a toe injury is going to be what kind of sets him off the path, especially in a game where, you know, this is a big game for the Bills, a big game for the Patriots. But I mean, it's very concerning, especially too with the other corners out there. I don't have a lot of faith in them to kind of make up for what Benford brings to the table. So it is a big concern going into this weekend.
You talked about him, Caleb, as the star of the defense with Joey Bosa out. I think you might be 4 words too long there. I think he might just be the star of the defense. This is a guy who scored touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Yeah. Wouldn't it sum up? This sums up the Bills' defensive situation this year, that the guy who scored twice in a row is now the guy who's hurt. Now, look, before everyone jumps on the panic button, he did seem normal from what the reports are today, and this could be just a preventative thing. Anytime you get an injury during a practice on a Thursday, it is a big, big worry. But just because he's in a walking boot on a Thursday doesn't mean he's not going to play, although we're going to play on TV doctors here right now. I mean, if we just did a show of hands, who thinks he's playing in a walking boot on Thursday? I don't think any of us are raising a hand, right? I mean, probably not. So we will see how this goes, but that is, like you guys said, outside of Josh Allen being in a walking boot, this might be the worst news the Bills could get injury-wise on a Thursday. There was good news today. Joey Bosa practiced with his team. He was officially limited, as you saw on the injury report there. But Bosa practicing is still a benefit, because this is obviously, like Caleb said, he might not be the star of the defense, but he's certainly one of the stars and one of the better players. So that part of the injury report was a positive. Beyond that, Terrell Bernard, Josh Palmer, they both were limited in practice today. Before we just get into the Bosa conversation a little more, I want to housekeep a bit here with the other parts of the injury report, in that Cole Bishop was on the injury report with a calf injury. Full practice, not a worry, but did want to, at least for the point of doing this program, point out that he was there. Let's go back to Bosa, guys. Rachel, how much do the Bills need Bosa for this particular game, in that, yet Drake May has been pretty good, the receivers are okay-ish, the Patriots do a lot of things well, and their passing game is chief among them, but this is not Dak Prescott. This is not Patrick Mahomes. This is a guy who's still kind of finding himself in the NFL in Drake May.
I think if we're looking at it from the potential of Christian Benford not being out there, I think the Bills do really need Joey Bosa out there. I mean, in the passing game than in the rushing game. I think it was obviously Stephon Diggs went off against the Bills last time. We talked about that. Drake May's been rolling. Last time, back in week 5, Drake May only had, I think, 12 rushing yards against the Bills. So it really wasn't an issue of controlling him in the rushing game, or really controlling the entirety of the Patriots rushing game. It was a lot of that passing game. And I think if Benford isn't out there, Bosa is kind of the next person that I would look to, at least, to make an impact and shut down Drake May, who has been just rolling through the season.
I think the point about Bosa's injury or Bosa's return being more important if Benford's also hurt is a really good one because Sean McDermott talks all the time about how rush and coverage work together. Well, now you're taking the two pieces who are the best at each individual part. You obviously want to have both of them, but if you're going to miss one, you better have the other, Caleb.
Yeah. I had said earlier that with Bosa out, Benford had become the star. I do think that Bosa is still the star on this team.
You can make that argument
I think
sure.
Benford has played great, but I do think that Bosa is still the guy. And especially against a guy like Drake May, he does have some mobility to him. And you mentioned that he's still finding himself. I think these past few weeks, though, he's maybe found it. Like he's playing like an MVP caliber quarterback. And you want a guy in there that can disrupt him, even if it's just a little bit. Obviously, Rachel said it. Benford being out obviously bumps this up quite a few levels. But him being in there could really, hopefully, disrupt Drake May, and then that could change the entire game.
Rachel's memory, by the way, is exquisite. He had exactly Drake May did, 12 yards rushing in the first game. As a scrambler, he hasn't been too dangerous. There's only 4 games all year where he's been over 30 yards. He is a guy. He can
rush
scramble
much,
yes.
But he can. Like he has that ability.
The other part of this with Drake May is that although I kind of began this conversation pointing out that Drake May doesn't at least come off as a quarterback that you got to worry about, this is a guy that's top 5 in just about every passing category this year. He's top 3 in QBR, quarterback rating, EPA per dropback. So he's been a very effective quarterback. And I think the point I want to make is the Patriots don't run the ball all that well. So if it's not Joey Bosa and we get the pass rush we saw against the Bengals, which was not much of one, although the snow played a part in that, then I'm pretty worried about this game, even if Benford does play, because Drake May seems to be a quarterback. He's been playing all year with receivers who aren't that good. It's old Stephon Diggs. We talked about this yesterday. Old Stephon Diggs, some guy named Booty, and a guy named Pop. It's not exactly like the murderer's row of receivers, and he's been getting it done. If you give him all day to get it done, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a problem. So yeah, I to be honest, of the two, let's throw this around real quick. Bosa or Benford, which guy of the two do you want to have in this game? Caleb, you can go first. Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
I'm going to go with Bosa. I always want to have the defensive lineman. I want to have the guy at the point of attack.
I would agree with Bosa. The only thing that's making me hesitant is my lack of confidence in Trey White and Maxwell Harrison. But I think I would have to go Bosa.
I'm leaning more towards Benford. I feel like just the streak he's been on the last 2 games, and the threat that Drake May brings, obviously, in the passing game, I feel like I want it to be Benford. I mean, you need the pass rush up front, but I think Benford, for me, might be the bigger.
I will say that I do agree with that in the sense that I don't think it would be likely, but if Benford somehow got 3 touchdowns, a touchdown in 3 games in a row, this could be a type of game where a defensive score could be huge.
Well, the way Rachel's looking at it too, you and I look at it from the lack of. If you don't have Benford, what happens? If you don't have Bosa, what happens? Mm-hmm. Rachel's looking at it from the point of view of, I got a guy who's making plays. Yeah, I want that attacker on the field because if I lose stuff, I can still get this guy to do something for me, which very easily could be the right answer. Yeah. Let's move on to the Bills taking on the Patriots for round number 2, because a theme that we heard a lot yesterday, or that I heard, and it was that the Bills seem to feel like, or be fixated on the number of mistakes they made in that first game. They had 3 turnovers, they had 11 penalties, lost the game by 3 points. You figure if you cut those in half, not even erase them, cut them in half, they probably win the game. The Bills talked a little more about that today and yesterday, about what they need to do is more about their own internal housekeeping, house cleaning, than it is worrying too much about the Patriots.
We need to control. You're right. We need to control. And, that goes into how we approach the game and then how we execute on game day. So the ball is an important piece of all that, right? So I'm sure for them, like it is for us. And so it's an important part of winning football and putting yourself in a position to win.
Just really trying to clean up the things that we didn't do well last time. We have an awareness for the guys that they like to use. I mean, it's a good team, so we just got to make sure we're crossing our T's, dotting our I's.
Be us. Be us. Know who we are. Know what we've been doing. Know who we are. And go in there and play a good game of ball. The Patriots have done a good job this year of playing football the right way. They got that new coach and they're booming. So we respect it, and we know that the energy that is involved, and we just got to just focus on us.
We hear the focus on us take from the Bills all the time. To me, it almost feels a little disrespectful that, all we have to do is not turn the ball over. And then there's also a part of it where, if you don't have mistakes, you probably win the game, right? That's generally how it works.
How it goes, yeah.
Rachel, is it just as simple for the Bills as they take care of their own house and they win this game?
I don't think so. This is a good Patriots team, whether or not, I mean, we'll get into it obviously in a little bit of how good this Patriots team is, but even eliminating those turnovers, yes, it was a 3-point game last time, but I don't think that could be the case at this point in the season. And I mean, the Bills have to limit the turnovers to win. Like you said, mistakes are a part of why teams lose, but I do think the Bills have to do more than what they did last time offensively, with minus the turnovers, take that out of the equation. I think they do need to do more than just limit that in their game.
I think if you look at just their first game and just how the Bills have been playing these last few weeks, if you just look at that, then yes, limiting the turnovers with the way Buffalo has been playing, with the way that first game went, I agree with you that all you have to do is really cut that in half and the Bills probably win that game. And with how they've been playing lately, they've been a little bit more level between the pass game's done a little bit better. The run game's been a little bit more consistent. You know, everything's kind of starting to mesh together. They're not shooting themselves in the foot as much. So I think if you just look at that, then yes, that's all they have to do. But I also think that this Patriots team is a different team than who Buffalo saw in week 5, right? Was it week 5?
Week 5 is correct.
I believe so.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're a different team where maybe in week 5, the Patriots aren't going to hurt you as much as long as you don't hurt themselves, as long as you don't hurt yourselves. But I think at this point, you need to do more than just not hurt yourself, because this Patriots team can find ways. They've grown to be able to find ways to hurt you as well.
I think the Patriots being different point is a fantastic one that doesn't get talked about enough. I think a lot of times Bills fans will come at this as, well, that team we saw week 5, we gave them that game. We turned it over. We had a number of penalties. Well, that team is different. That team has figured out how to win. Yeah, they haven't done it against great teams, but they've won 10 games in a row. They are quite comfortable at winning games right now. In addition, in a more in the weeds kind of thing, the Patriots came into that game as a mistake-prone team. They were committing penalties left and right. Remember, in that game, the Bills might have had 3 turnovers. The Patriots had 3 15-yard penalties. There was one Bills touchdown drive that was a 15-yarder and a 15-yarder, and all of a sudden, Buffalo's at the New England 30. The Patriots have only had one game in their last 7 with more than 5 penalties. They're not that team anymore, or at least haven't been that team. They're not going to give you the type of mistakes that you might have gotten in that game, even if you gave them back as well. This point in the year, obviously, it's the money games, the games where you make the playoffs for the Patriots. They have an opportunity to clinch a division this week. So Deion Dawkins today got a question about what is different when it comes to playing this time of year. And as Deion Dawkins can only do, he came at it from a very unique point of view.
You would see a lot of passion, right? A lot of passion, a lot of grit, a lot of, if we don't win, we're going to fall off the cliff. Like, guys that change, right? And guys that might be fighting for incentives. Like, who knows, bro? Like, the end of the season, guys doing different things when they should have just been doing a consistent thing the entire season long. You know, if you put $1 in a day at the end of the season, you'll stack up all those dollars, right? It's 18 games, so you should have a bucket that says 18, instead of getting to the last 2 games of the season and having a bucket that says 8, and now you're trying to fill that bucket up with $10 more on the last 2 games.
So for anybody who doesn't speak Deonish, let me translate for you. Essentially what he's saying is that to play well in a big game, you have to do the same thing you've done all year. You have to keep being you. And I've always thought of it as people, teams, and players who succeed in big games. To me, it's not like they're raising their level of play. They're just not folding when the pressure gets big. Here's the question I want to put to you guys, Rachel, you go first. Is that experience the Bills have succeeding in these games a big enough advantage to make a difference in this game?
This is tough. Like succeeding in these big games throughout this year, or?
I would say just in general, because a lot of these guys have played in a bunch from at this point, Josh and Deion, all those guys.
I mean, it gives you an advantage, I would say, but as Deion was talking, I was kind of thinking about it. He's saying, you put $1 in your bucket each game. I don't think the Bills have put $1 in their bucket each game this year. It's a good point. And so I feel like I think he was looking at it from the perspective of, I've been consistent, or we've been consistent, but I don't think realistically the Bills have been consistent, and maybe they are trying to play catch up a little bit here in the end. But I do think having that experience in those big games does help when it comes to these moments, especially for Deion, like a veteran. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, yes, this helps, but on the other hand, the Bills are kind of a different team than they have been in these other games.
It definitely helps, but the different team point is a big one. Just because Deion Dawkins and Josh Allen and Matt Milano and Taron Johnson know how to succeed in big games doesn't mean this group with Max Hairston and Jordan Hancock and whoever else they have to roll off the bench to play on defense because everybody's getting hurt these days will be just as successful. Caleb?
I do think that there's a level of advantage that the Bills have in this game because, Josh Allen knows what it takes to win these big games. And even if guys like maybe like Cole Bishop or Keon Coleman in their second years, or even like a Dalton Kincaid in his third, or the rookie Maxwell Harrison, Deion Walker, like even if they don't know, I think there's enough guys around them to help lift them up in this situation. So I do think that the experience will play a factor, but to the point of the dollar in the jar, with Rachel, you saying that they didn't put $1 every game. I agree with that they haven't really been consistent, but I wouldn't say that they're either not trying or not putting anything. Maybe they're throwing 2 quarters in there. Maybe they're throwing in 50 cents.
We are going deep on this analogy right now.
Because the Bills have been, I think Deion is trying to say that, like, kind of to your point too, that you stay consistent, you do the same thing week in and week out, and that's going to help you win the games at the end of the year. Well, the problem is the Bills started that way, and then they realized, okay, this isn't working. We're going to try a new thing. Okay, this isn't working. They've kind of grown in their own way to now find what works later in the year, and I think they've kind of grasped that at this point. So I don't know if the dollar analogy super works for the Bills because they haven't. I think they're still at that same point as if they did put $1 in each week, but they didn't, if that makes any sense.
We're going to spend the rest of the show, by the way.
I'm talking like Deion right now.
We're going to spend the rest of the show, by the way, going game by game, determining exactly how much money went into the jar. I think the Texans game, 25 cents came out of the jar, just so you guys know. I do, the experience is a factor. And the other thing that's a factor here is that when I think Deion is right in that if you keep it the same, you play better in big spots. The Bills always keep it the same, almost to a fault, to be honest. They are good at keeping things even keel. They dial it in. They do the same thing over and over. They believe in that philosophy. There might be an argument for us to make maybe in the middle of January if they need to find a way to lift it a little bit when we get to the divisional playoffs. But for week 15, winning a division, I think it is a big advantage. That being said, I always think that a team doesn't know how to win in big games until they do. And if the Patriots just win the game on Sunday for whatever reason, then all of a sudden they'll have the experience and it'll be good enough. So it is a very vague topic, but it's a fun one to debate because it is not irrelevant this time of year. Speaking of debate, time for the BKL Nightly Roundtable, and let's dive right into question number 1, which is also, I think, question number 1 from yesterday, but you guys didn't get a chance to tackle it. Caleb and Rachel, I want you guys to have a shot at it. It's been the top of Western New York all week long, really all season long. How good, for reals, are the Patriots? Rachel?
I think the Patriots are for reals good. I don't think Josh Reed said this yesterday in your guys' roundtable discussion. I don't think you put together a 10-game win streak without being a good football team. And the thing that cements it for me is that you have 23-year-old Drake May with a receiver room that is by no means an elite receiver room. And they're doing what like you said, Drake May is at the top of all of these categories. The Patriots are rolling through all of these teams. I don't think you do that and not be a good team. Yes, their schedule is very fluffy. Most of their games are, you could have guessed that, well, we didn't know the Patriots were going to be this good at the beginning of the season. But, easy schedule. Strength of schedule is very low at the start of the season. But I do think they're a good team. I think maybe people are counting them out just a little bit too much. This will be a big test for them, obviously, on Sunday. But I do think this is a good Patriots team.
Rachel, you use the word fluffy for the schedule. I want to look at exactly how fluffy it is. When you look at the teams that they have faced, when you look at the scoring, at the offenses, bottom half scoring offense, Patriots have played 8 of the 10 teams in that 10-game win streak were in the bottom half of the score of points per game on the offense, 7 of them in the bottom 10. When you look at points per game, most allowed like on defense, 8 of 10 of the teams that they've played were in the bottom half. 5 of those in the bottom 10. When you look at turnover differential, 7 out of 10 were in the bottom half. And then when you look at record, just straight up record on the entire league, 8 out of 10 of those in the bottom half, with 6 already eliminated from the playoffs. 6 teams that the Patriots have played in that 10-game win streaks are already eliminated. And Cincinnati's only 1 loss away. If they lose to, is it Baltimore? I think they play this week.
I think so.
If they lose to Baltimore, they'll make it 7 out of 10 of those teams already eliminated. With all that being said, though, winning 10 games in a row in the NFL is very hard. Now, granted, it's against 10 of the worst teams in the NFL. 8 of those literally being some of the worst. But still, 10 games is really, really hard. So I don't know if the Patriots are 1 seed legit, which is...
That's really the question here.
Well, okay, right now I think they're the 2 seed. I think they're
Regardless
behind
of
Denver.
it, I don't
but
care
I
what-
don't
yeah.
think they're top seed legit, but they're definitely like division winning legit. Like I think at this point they're definitely a threat to Buffalo. Even though Buffalo's had like kind of a weird year, you go to next year, 2 years down the line, the Patriots are going to be right there as a threat, but I don't know if they're quite yet 1 seed legit, which is kind of where they've looked based off this.
Just to throw out another how bad is the schedule stat, while you guys were talking, I was looking it up. The Patriots have actually played 6 current last place teams. Now, like a last place schedule is one thing, but the last place schedule from last year.
Yeah.
Some of those teams are supposed to get better. Apparently not,
No.
because the Patriots have almost half their schedule. Actually, had they played the Jets twice and they got one more of the Jets left, half their schedule has been against current last place teams, which is impressive. Calling it fluffy is an insult to long-haired cats everywhere. That being said, I don't fluffy.
I was thinking more dogs, maybe.
Really?
Maybe.
All right, we will not
We
digress
don't have
for that.
to
Yeah,
dive
exactly.
into Fluffy. We've said it too many times.
I think they are actually 1 seed worthy this year. Not in a normal year where you have a legit 1 seed. This year in the AFC where you don't have a legit 1
Yeah,
seed
I
where
could see that.
everybody's flawed. I think this team, even if they're beaten the worst of the worst, doing it this many times in a row tells me that they are worthy of it. Now, whether they get there, they could easily get bounced in the first round of the playoffs for any number of reasons. I don't care how good a team is. You go in and you give up a 50-yard touchdown and then turn the ball over and it's 14-0. All of a sudden, everything that you were good at doesn't matter. I think that they are worthy of being a 1 seed. They're not intimidating. They've got to prove it to me in the playoffs. But are they good enough to be at that level? I think so far they are. Question number 2, totally different. How much do the Bills need to worry about Stephon Diggs? And we bring this up because Stephon Diggs had, I think it was like 140-something yards against the Bills. I'll look the numbers up here as I'm talking.
146.
Thank you.
I think.
Somebody was more prepared than I was. The point is, Diggs has only 4 games all year where he's had more than 60 yards receiving. He's only got 3 100-yard games this year. The Bills game was by far his biggest game of the year. And in those other 3 games, those are all blowout wins against bad teams. Is Diggs really that much of a threat? I mean, he was in the first game against Buffalo, but as we said, he's not anywhere near his prime. So, Caleb, how much of a worry should he be on Sunday?
You said he's not anywhere near his prime. I completely agree with that, but I do think that he's still a top receiver. Like he's still a very, I don't know if I'd use the word great, but he's still a very good receiver. He still draws attention to himself. I do agree that the Bills game might have been kind of a one-off. It's a high emotion game. You're back in Buffalo for the first time. There's a lot of stuff going on there, but this is also potentially a high emotion game. I mean, there's a lot on the line on Sunday for the Patriots and the Bills. So I could see another game, especially if Benford is not out there. I really have I said it earlier, I have not very, very little confidence in Trey White and Max Harrison. They let T. Higgins absolutely beat him up. And now Diggs might not be the size of T. Higgins, but he's pretty close to the same level. I would put Stephon Diggs and T. Higgins pretty close together if you do a wide receiver ranking. So if there's no Benford with the amount that's on the line on Sunday night, it definitely could be a problem.
I'm having deja vu. I feel like we had this conversation back in week 5, and we were all like, "No, he's not really a threat." Like Stephon Diggs, he's not in his prime, whatever. And then he did what he did. I think the Bills do have to worry about Diggs, just like Caleb said. This is another high emotion game. It's not at Highmark Stadium, so it doesn't have that like homecoming feel. Mm-hmm. But this is a high stakes game for them, and for them to potentially take away the division that the Bills have held for 5 years, I think that's something that is probably important to Diggs. I mean, I saw some of his press conference. He seemed a little, not emotional, but a little amped up going into this weekend. And I mean, I think if Benford isn't out there, same thing that we've said, we don't have a lot of confidence in the other cornerbacks. I do think Diggs could go off again. And I think he is a threat to potentially the biggest threat in the passing or in the receiver room as far as Drake May is, like with Drake May. So I do think the Bills should be concerned.
The division clinching angle to this is not something I've thought of yet. And the idea of Stephon Diggs thinking all week about how I get to clinch the division in front of that team with a win over them. Yeah, the answer to this question for me just went off the chart because I think he will be as dialed in as he possibly can be, almost to the point where I might even change a pick, to be honest, but not that quite that far. I think there's still not enough athleticism there for Diggs to be that much of a threat, but boy, you're 100% right. The mental stuff is going to be incredibly, incredibly high. All right, speaking of things that are incredibly high, Josh Allen, when he is unleashed, has been very dangerous. We talk about the difference between what the Bills do with Josh Allen. Week 1, dial him back a little bit. You don't run him all the time. AFC Championship, it's all on the table. So, Rachel, where do we rank in terms of where Josh Allen should be in terms of his green light to run and do whatever this weekend?
I say give him the green light. I mean, that's what's been working for the Bills offense when the Bills offense has been working. I mean, I don't know. This is a game, like we said, it matters for the Bills. It matters more for the Patriots, but I give Josh Allen the green light. I think that's the only way you really win games at this point is if you say, okay, Josh Allen, be your MVP, put on your cape like we've been talking about and go out there and do it. So for me, full power, 10 out of 10 Josh's. I think it's time for him to come out.
This is not yet like a win, go home situation. Obviously, this isn't a playoff game. This isn't even like the Bills need to win this game to be in the playoffs. But they do need to win this game to keep the AFC East hopes alive. And I realize that there's still a second half of that. Obviously, the Bills need to win this game, and then the Bills need the Patriots to lose to either the Dolphins or Jets, which is probably much less likely than the Bills winning on Sunday. But still, step one is the Bills' responsibility. And that's what they can control. So I think they're going to do everything in their power to control what they can control. You hear it all the time. Do your 1/11th. Well, this is your 1/2. The one thing that you can control in this situation is winning this game. So for that reason, I think it's to them a playoff game. And Josh Allen steps up and they give him the rock in the playoffs. So I see no reason why you don't just let him go.
I think you guys can be right, but I'm only going to go with like a 7 out of 10. I might unleash him a little bit if I think the game is within grasp and I need a play or two. But you guys have said it. This is not a game the Bills desperately need. The games that they need are yet to come. I want to make sure Josh is good for those. I don't need him to do everything. If I need him to do everything in this game, then I might have a bigger problem in general. And I want to actually save that for the playoffs anyway. So I would not just unleash him and give him the total green light, even if I think you guys make good points about why it's a good reason to do it. And yes, a win here may not be in the standings changing your season, but I think mentally there's a good point of view.
It's momentum change.
Exactly. Yeah. To get that going in the playoffs. But I would be a little bit careful about how much I use Josh in this game. All right. Close to the end of the show here. That means it is time to make some picks. Rachel, you get to go first because you're the best one at picking so far this year.
And I'm going to go with the Bills again. 27-20 is
worked so far.
Final score this week. I just don't see a world where the Bills lose to the Patriots twice. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen. I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be close. But I feel like the Bills have figured out maybe their rushing attack a little bit better since that game. James Cook was pretty quiet in that game at like 40, 50 rushing yards maybe, compared to at least what he's been doing the rest of the year. So, I like where this game is at in the season. I like how the Bills play at this time of year. I'm going to take the Bills 27-20.
I'm also going to take Buffalo. I think they've kind of been on the up. I like... although I agree that the Patriots team is different now than they were then, I think the Bills team is so much better now than they were in week 5. They're just much more, they have a stronger identity, a clearer identity. I'm going to take it 30-24. And I said before we started recording, I told Rachel that I have a little caveat. I'm going to take 30-24 in overtime.
Ooh,
this is going to be an overtime game, and it's going to be Josh Allen using his legs to get that game-winning touchdown.
I see it.
I need something. I use the word brownie points. I need something to I'm so far behind on this record that I need something to get going.
You know what I'm doing here? So we're going to make a rule. If you hit the overtime, you get to lose a loss. So we're going to change your record.
Okay.
This is a 2-win game.
Wait, only if it goes to overtime? Or I need the overtime and the score?
No, you don't hit the score. You got to get the winner, though. The winner and overtime.
So if the Bills win and it goes to overtime,
you get extra
I get rid of a loss too?
Yes. And no danger
Changing
either.
The rules.
But you can only do it once. So if you use your one time, you can't do it again.
Darn it.
All right, I'm going to also pick the Bills here, by the way. A similar score, 31-23. For me, the big thing is the Patriots are bad in the red zone. They are 24th offensively in the red zone, dead last on defense. Why are they still good, being dead last on defense? They've only allowed teams to get to the red zone 2 times per game all year. That, to me, is a schedule stat. That's not a Patriots. This isn't the Texans. The defense isn't that good. I think the Bills get to the red zone. They capitalize in the red zone. I think also no Milton Williams allows the Bills to run the ball a whole lot better. Patriots have allowed 124 yards per game on the ground with Williams out the last 3. Before that, it was less than 80. That will be a big difference. The other thing, too, guys, Patriots have won 10 in a row, right? They're due for a loss. They just have to be, right? I mean, it's that time, right? Just law of averages says it is time to lose a game.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I don't know if that's a great reason for a pick.
It is not. Oh, definitely
but you're not wrong.
No, it is not intense, excellent analysis. But I'm going with it, everybody. All right, that's going to do it for us here in this edition of BKL Nightly. Thanks very much for watching. Reminder that on Sunday, it'll be me and Caleb with the live postgame show starting at 4 o'clock. We'll have a whole hour breaking down Bills and Patriots, and then the whole crew is back together on Monday, getting you ready for the next game against the Browns, which will be slightly less interesting. For Caleb Carr and Rachel Larbert, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks very much for watching. We will see you again over the weekend.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.